Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody, welcome. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. You know, one of the things you all have asked us for is we've talked a little bit about women and stress. We've touched upon it in a number of different ways. And one of the things you wanted us to do is say more about it. And the best way for me to do that is to bring the experts on. Dr. Melissa Oden is joining me here today. And what I mean by experts, people that up close and personal understand what stress is, right, for themselves, but also understands about women and stress right now, what people are going with. But what is the key then? Well, if you're Dr. Oden, then what you do is you look at the landscape of the world. You know, clearly, if you're her, she has been out in the forefront. You know, whether it's her master's degree in social work or beyond, certifications, health educator, you know, she is out in the world as a leading expert. You know, her work focuses on emergency management, disaster planning, you name it. So she understands the aspect of stress that women feel. But beyond that, she's CEO of Health Education Resources Network. It's a public health project management and health education consulting company. So when you are out there like she is, so you're right out there, right? There's no hiding. Then one of the things is, you know, you have to take action to come and be part of a solution. That's what she has done. Today, I'm so thrilled to introduce you to what she's doing in the world, what she's realized, and how a holistic approach to this can help women across the board. Dr. Oden, it's great to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat. It's great to be with you today.
Look, I don't know that we can talk enough about this, but give us a snapshot on, you know, what you believe the state of affairs is right now for women and stress, because it's always been a conversation, but now it's more than a conversation, isn't it?
Right. And I think that everything that we have been through the last 2 years has just highlighted everything that is awry, not only in society, but within our healthcare. And so, you know, this work started for me maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, when I was finishing up my master's in public health. And I had been through a battle with stage 4 endometriosis. I was looking at writing my master's thesis on that, came across this issue called the female stress syndrome, and decided to shift my focus and be a little bit more laser focused on this issue about female stress, because one of the catalyst for endometriosis is stress. They used to call it the working woman's disease. I don't really think that we call it that much anymore, because so many young women now have been diagnosed with it. And it's because we've had more awareness around that topic. And so I decided to laser focus on this female stress syndrome. And come to find out, I had a majority of the symptoms that I was reading about while I was finishing my second master's degree. And so it really started to become personal for me.
Yeah.
And really, I really started to dig into the reasons why this was happening, and discovered some really scary things about the female stress syndrome. So that's how it all started.
But let's talk about some of those things, because, you know, I know this is a short show today, but there really are things that are a call for alarm. You know, one of the things I do, I work with women in addiction and recovery. I've been doing it for a really long time. And I will tell you that the trends and the patterns that I've observed the past 24 to 28 months are unprecedented. I don't know another word for it. And my mom, of course, died from alcohol, drug addiction, and suicide. So I'm very familiar with that. But yet there are signs that we need to pay attention. I didn't know the signs. And I've often thought, had I known what I know today, could I have helped my stepmom, who literally had her heart explode suddenly? This is all stress related and related to what you and I are talking about.
Right.
How do we define this and describe this, especially from you, from a personal perspective of what you discovered? But how do we reach out to the women that are listening and say, look, here's what you need to know, and there is a solution?
Right. So after working with women for so many years, and after beta testing the course that I'm about to roll, the online course I'm about to roll out, I will tell you that women know. they know this already. And what we do is we ignore it because we are the caregivers. We think that everybody should come before us. And to be honest, Dr. Pat, I think this is more of a mindset issue than it really is anything else. Because when something happens in our bodies, women are probably more in tune with our bodies than men are. Not to say that they're not. So let's not get that discussion started. But I think women have an intuition that is so much different than men do. And so when things are going on inside of us, we know it and we tend to ignore it. So let's just say, for me, one of the big things when I was doing my master's, I had like this piece on the back of my head where my hair had fallen out. So I had this bald spot. And when I started reading about female stress syndrome, that was one of the things on the list. And I thought, oh my goodness, right? Brittle nails, sensitivity to light. If you're all of a sudden developing migraines, if your libido is low, if you just have fatigue all the time. Now, granted, there are some conditions where some of these symptoms may indicate other things, but this is where it starts. Right. Yeah. This is where it starts. And so in my course, I have like 4 pages of symptoms. And by the time you get through it, you're like, well, I'm depressed now because all of these symptoms. And I think most people could check off a lot of those things. So if we were a little bit more self-aware of what was happening with us and just had the courage to stop and say, you know what, this is not okay. We need to handle this. And I think one of the reasons that we don't is because Western medicine does not really know how to deal with this very well, which is why I take a holistic approach with this. Sometimes you just can't throw a medication on it. Yeah. Sometimes it's a lot more work than that. And I think that's where women get tripped up as well. But that's why I wanted to provide a space where they could come and get that kind of support and really dig into what's the root cause of all of this and how can I address it?
Yeah, I so love what you're talking about. I want to make sure you give out your website because you have developed a course. So let's make sure we give that out a couple of times throughout the show. It took me to get literally very, very sick. All of a sudden it looked like one day, and then go on a healing journey to understand that what you're teaching people, it could have avoided that. And I now know that 10 years, I went through a healing journey 10 years because I had to figure it out, that the things that you're talking about, and you're right, this isn't always a pill, potion, and lotion. There are some things that if we're made aware of it, losing your hair isn't always about aging. Right. So how do people find out about the course and find out about you? Let's give them that right away.
Sure. So you can go to drmelissaoden.com. So that's just drmelissaoden, ODEN.com. And there's a place where you can put in your name to get on the email list. The course will go into pre-sale here very, very shortly. So you haven't missed it yet. So if you go there, you can get information about how and when that course is going to roll out.
And let's talk about the course in terms of, stress and the effects of stress. And at least in my case, but please comment on this, the outcomes could be fatal. And I think we can't stress that enough, right? But
that's correct.
Unmitigated stress. So what you're doing is to help women reclaim their lives. Tell us a little bit about that. And also let's emphasize, beyond everything that the AMA, this is a serious thing, literally changes a woman's life. You can slow down, you could feel, the symptoms are just devastating.
They can be debilitating. And you're absolutely correct. They actually can be fatal. And this is why we focus on women in stress more than just stress in general for people, because stress for women is more fatal than it is for men. And the reason for that is because of our physiology. Women and men clearly are made differently. And so the physiology for a woman, when she undergoes long-term stress, it can be absolutely fatal. Now, let's be clear. You need stress in your life to stay alive. But the levels of stress that we experience today in the 21st century is truly what you said earlier, unprecedented. And we have not quite figured out how to slow down enough to mitigate some of that so that we can work it in our favor so that it doesn't kill us. Many women think that breast cancer is the #1 killer of women. It is not. It is not. We just went through the month of February, which is Heart Health Awareness Month for women. If you follow the American Heart Association, they have a huge campaign, Go Red for Women, where you wear red every Friday. And so, I think part of the reason is that heart health is just not that sexy. I think that's part of it. It's just not that sexy. But unfortunately, again, that's a mindset in our society that we need to get out of, because what's really killing our women is being underrepresented, and it's being understudied, unfortunately. And I think it's being misunderstood.
It is being misunderstood.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, but I love your approach though, because I was reading about, I mean, the South American side of me says, ooh la la, right? That's what I want to say. But what you're really talking about is an integrative cognitive approach to mind, body, spirit, to holistic approach, so that the juiciness of our lives can go to the forefront again. Because so many women feel like, I'm never going to get my pizzazz back. You know, Dr. Oden, I'm never going to get it back. How do I get it back? And you've created, because of your in-depth understanding women's stress and health, you're creating a way for women to reclaim this again, aren't you?
Yes. And the thing of it is that it does take work. I'm not even going to lie about that. It does take work. And so the women who will be in this course, I've already beta tested it twice last year, and it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal experience for everyone, including me. And I'm the creator of the course, but it was fantastic to be able to beta that live with real women who are experiencing this in real time. But, you know, I think what most people don't understand is that you don't get to this place overnight, and you're not going to get out of it overnight. And it's going to take some work and some mind shift changes, and some definite support from your folks around you to be able to make this happen. But the good news is that it can happen. And as long as you put in the work and your takes to get yourself out of that, along with your support team, which includes me and, you know, and the women who are going to be in this tribe, you know, you can do it. You can do it. No one's perfect at this. I'm not. And I'm the one that's teaching this course. But what it does is it keeps me honest. It keeps me transparent. And I believe with every fiber of my being that everything that I've gone through is not just for me, it's for someone else, which is why I believe that this course is so important, is because I've been there, done that, probably still doing it. And I get it. I understand. Yeah. And sometimes that's all we need in our lives, is somebody to come alongside you and say, I get it. Let's walk through this together. And that's what I'm trying to do.
I totally agree with you, because I think if you and I hadn't been at a point where our bodies just could not take, at least in my case, could not take not one more nanosecond of the pressure, the doubt. And let's just talk a little bit about what it means to take a holistic approach, because a lot of times when we talk about stress, you know, we leave out the cognitive part of it. We leave out the things we tell ourselves, right? You know, not enough. You're not really meant to do this. You'll never be able to. You'll always be this. You're going to be like your dad. You're going to lose everything. How many times do we play those things? Talk about your approach, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no. So when I created this course, I realized very early on that there was so much more to this than what society tells you about how to handle your stress. For example, it's mostly go take a bubble bath, have a piece of dark chocolate, because by the way, that's good for your health, and have 2 ounces of red wine every night. And you know what? You're going to be fine. I'm not saying that those don't help. Okay. But what I'm saying is it's not enough. Right. So that doesn't address the root of the problem. What we have to do is dig down into the root of the problem. So I have pulled together my background, not only in Western medicine, but in natural health, my health education background, and I have created a holistic viewpoint of how women need to handle their stress. So yes, I'm going to tell you, go take a bubble bath once a week, or however often you want to. You know, have 2 or 3 ounces of chocolate, dark chocolate every night. Have a little wine if you want to. But really what's happening is our mind and our body is not in agreement when we're having these things happen. And so we have to address this up here, because, you know, this is the most important organ that we have up here, right? That we need to keep healthy, because in Eastern medicine, your mind is what controls what happens in your body, right? So when you manifest something, you're manifesting it from up here. So I have a book that I use. It's called Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die by Carol Truman. It has been my go-to for years and years about what these physical manifestations are and how they connect back to the brain and the emotions that you're feeling and the thoughts that you're thinking. And so when I work with clients, I say, look, we're going to take a look at this. what are you feeling?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at what the associated thoughts and feelings are, and let's address that and see if we can't get your body to come back into agreement with your brain. So we use supplements, we use essential oils, we use cognitive behavioral stuff. We talk about walking as my favorite exercise drug of choice. And so we talk about how exercise is important. But it's not just those surface things that society tells you about. We really dig down deep and say, okay, where is this coming from up here? That's the scary part for most people. And that's the part of the work that they tend to not want to do. But I've tried to create a space in which they feel safe to do that. And so that they know that what they're doing is ultimately going to be healing for them. And I think when you can see that end goal, it doesn't make it so scary anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, I like this. Also, for those of you just tuning in, I'm really excited to have all you meet Dr. Melissa Oden. And by the way to find out more about this and the course that she's getting ready to launch here. And you can go to the website. I'm going to give it to you, Dr. Dr. Melissa. That's 1 L, 2 S's, Oden, ODEN.com. And when you go there, you're going to find a lot more than we're talking about today. But what you're also going to find is exactly what I like to call, my words, not yours, the blueprint. The blueprint,
Ooh,
ladies.
I love that.
We all need a blueprint. Yes, we're highly intuitive. Yes, we know we have to turn right before the sign says we have to turn right. But when it comes to ourselves and our own self-care, I've never been able to do it alone, Dr.
We're bad
Melissa.
at it. We're so bad at it.
It's so bad. Like that's, born to be bad. But it's because we give so much, I think, out in the world.
Yes.
I wasn't joking about what happened to me on April 1st of 2004. My body decided it was going to stop. And you know why? I was teaching a course, Live Your Greatest Dream, and I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe. I was 6 months in doing the show. I loved doing it. This was 20 years ago. I didn't know the universe had a life path for me because I was supposed to take that big fat doctorate and become like a big consultant. And I cried at night over that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what you're teaching. See, if I had had this course then, or knew or understood that my body was reacting to an emotional state. Whoa.
Mm-hmm. It's a game changer, Dr. Pat. It's a complete game changer when you can understand that the thoughts and things that you're thinking and feeling are driving how your body is responding to that. Now, my best friend has this saying, and she says, sometimes a cold is just a cold. I totally agree with that. However, if you are consistently having weird things happen, or you're consistently having one thing happen and you can't figure out why you can't get rid of it, if Western medicine is not helping you, we need to look at something else. Because you're right, not everything, you can't give a pill to everything and make it go away. There's some work that needs to be done in here. And that's what I want to create a space to help people do, is to come into this space. It's nice and safe and warm. And they're going to be able to find that healing and that balance and that peace that they're looking for.
I love that you're bringing, your life experience. And I just touched upon a couple of credentials, but you know what? You're committed to this. See, when I get to meet people like you, I get the sense of it's more than just a course. It is a personal, passionate commitment to helping women change their lives. See, that's what we need. Let's talk about a couple of the symptoms if we could.
Sure.
I got a friend. She said, I'm doing really great. I just wish I could get to bed at night and get a good night's sleep. And I'm thinking, okay, and I said, one night? Said, no, I just got this sleeping thing. So when was the last time you had a good night's sleep? 2006. Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't believe, this is the number one most common thing I hear from women is they can't sleep. Now, there are a couple things that we take a look at when we look at sleep issues in particular. The main thing I always look at is the liver. The liver is the seat of all emotions, and the liver dumps its toxins between 3 and 5 in the morning. So if you tell me that you are waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't go back to sleep, that tells me your liver is congested and we need to do something about that, right? There are a couple real easy things that we can do, not expensive, not overly burdensome. But we start there. We don't start with, hey, let's take a medication, because probably you're taking enough medication already that it's probably causing some liver issues. So we take a look at the liver. That's the number one thing I go to. The next thing that you look at is, what's going on in your space, right? Do you have a nice sanctuary that you can be in? So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the physical. And then finally, what are you looking at night? All right, before you go to sleep, what is your nighttime routine before you go to bed? Now, are you a reader? Do you like to read yourself to sleep? Now I go through phases where, I watch TV. That's probably not a great thing, but I have to do what works for me at the moment. So, I'll do that. A lot of times I will read myself to sleep. Do you listen to music? And what kind of music do you listen to? I have this really upbeat music in my office all day long, but then I'm starting to kind of ramp it down at night. I like Sinatra. I like classical, right? I like smooth jazz. So whatever it is that kind of speaks to you, that's what you need to focus on. But like I said, these are very practical things that we talk about in terms of how do you get some better sleep.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we've got too many things we're worried about, and we just cannot let it go.
Yeah, we had one of our fabulous listeners just chime in, just call Benny here, and just wanted to pass this on. Thank you thank you for leaving this message. Great guest. Thanks for bringing this person on. They're talking about you.
Oh, I'm so thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. And, it's important because this is an important topic for our listeners, our audience. And, what I'm finding is men care about the people in their lives as well. So we have both men and women, but I wanted to just really bring this full circle, because when I think about what you're doing, and you and your team has won more awards than I have time to talk about today, but you're creating this based on a life of research, dedication, commitment, compassion, wisdom, and knowledge. And you're putting this together because you see a serious need.
Yes.
I think we've had places in the history, right? And this is Women's History Month, where we thought women were at a critical state. I don't even have a word for where I think we are now. Yeah. And you have a solution, don't you?
I'm totally with you on that. I just keep saying unprecedented because you said it and because I think it fits. When I do Facebook Lives and things, I usually joke with the men who are watching. I'm like, you know what? You really need to get your woman into this because I think I can save your marriage. Now, that's a huge claim. And I say it in a very joking way, but on the serious side, I think a lot of men would love to know how they can help their women. They see this. They see that they're stressed. They see that they're overworked. They see that something needs to change, and men just really don't know what to do about that sometimes, and sometimes women don't either. But men, this is something that your woman really needs to think about doing if she really wants to change her life. There's a coaching element to this as well. Interesting that you said ooh la la, because I happen to be a certified OOLA life coach. If you've not heard of OOLA, you can find out on my website. But we look at the 7 key areas of life and how we balance that. And so it's a very integral part of what we do. There's once you get out of the course, you can go deeper into that and some different coaching, but that is woven throughout the course. How do you find that balance, and how do you get that spark back? Right.
Yeah.
So
there's so many signs, and I know that this is going to be an interactive course. I know that this is what you're doing to really raise the bar. There's so many things that we could talk about. I had a friend that called me just crying to tears, and I asked her, I thought something devastating happened. She said, no, I threw the chicken cacciatore out. And I said, okay. She said, yeah, but just one word was said to me, and I literally threw dinner in the garbage.
Yeah.
See, that's a little sign, right?
I can relate.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Oh my gosh, I'm like totally right there with you.
Yeah.
But let's make sure folks know again how they can find out more about this upcoming course, how they can find out more about you, all of the above, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. You can go to drmelissaoden.com. So that's drmelissaoden.com. And you can put your name at, there's a spot where you can either schedule a 30-minute discovery call with me, or you can go ahead and put your name on the email list to find out when the Women in Stress Reclaiming Your Life course is going to go into pre-sale, which will be very, very soon.
Yes.
And then we'll get that rolled out probably at the last part of Q2 of this year. So super excited about that. And I hope that there are some women out there who would like to join this tribe that we are creating for. And I have big plans, by the way, for this. This is not the end. This is just going to be one in a series of things that are going to roll out within this brand. So really excited about that.
Well, I kind of knew that because in looking at everything you've accomplished and, how you are out in the world now and supporting women, especially women in stress. I mean, it's really clear to me that this is a beginning, by no means is this is just one aspect of a tipping point, because you recognize and you see that if we don't do something to help women right now, there's no returning. There's going to be a point of no return, right?
That's right.
For my mom, massive heart attack, but we can do something now. I wanted to ask you this. What's your personal message? What do you want to leave us with today?
Wow, that's a great question. What I want to leave with you today is that it is possible to live differently. It is absolutely possible to get what you want, excuse me, and to live differently. You don't have to live like you're living right now. There is a way out. There is another way. And a lot of times all we need is somebody to come alongside us and say, let me hold your hand through this journey. Let's get you out of the woods and back into the clearing. And let's get you in a place where you're feeling better and you're healthy and you're happy and you are serving your family and your community and whoever it is that you are here to serve. Because by the way, you are here for a purpose. You are not here by accident.